At the end of last year, U.S. News and World Report published an article on how the Walmart heirs are promoting charter schools. How do you feel about charter schools, and more particularly, these that are targeting STEM education to poor students in struggling districts, and do you think that could work in District 36?
How could you not like more education? How could you not like more choice? How could you not like people that are willing to put their own money up to help, one, the disadvantaged, two, push us into the current time frame where we're not getting nearly enough educators that are up on STEM. We're not, we're a little behind the curve. We're way behind the curve in the world sense. So I support charter schools. I support school choice, and particularly support well-run schools, whether they're private, public, or charter. Love education. It's one of the big ways that we're going to get out of the mess we're in. It's a situation we've got to get a workforce trained for the jobs that are coming up with us. It's a different type of workforce. College degrees aren't required. Certificates, high school education with certificate is a perfectly good way to make a good living, and we need to focus on those things. We've done a great job in Northwest Louisiana. We've got some remarkable educational institutions, so charter schools are a part of that, and that's just the way it is today. So I would ask you all to understand that there were bumps in that road early on, but we've got some good charter schools in this area, and I think the days of charter schools are here, and we should promote them and allow them every opportunity, particularly if they're going to market to a sector that's been undereducated or underserved. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we'll hear from Ryan Gaddy.
All right, listen up. This may be the most important question of the night. How many of y'all went to public school? Raise your hand. Okay, well, the charter school movement is really a movement to defund public schools. There's a movement for the money to follow the child. So the MFP allocation that Johnny Rowland gets for that child, they want that $4,000 to go to a private charter school. That charter school might be an online charter school. They don't have a janitor, they don't have a facility, but they want the same amount of money that North Webster gets. Well, out of that money North Webster gets, they have to pay 33% of that to retired teachers, and they have to take that residue and educate your child. Well, the movement of the charter school, and I drafted 2 bills to help our public schools against charter schools. They placed them on Charter School Day in Senate Education. And I was battling for public schools against charter schools, and it was a big deal. Both the bills died. And it was a big deal for our teachers. It's the reason the School Board Association and those groups are backing me, because they know I'm going to fight for North Webster. I'm going to fight for Webster Parish schools. There's nothing wrong with private schools. Charter schools are different. There was evidence put on in Senate Education. There were F charter schools taking kids from C and D schools in New Orleans and Shreveport. Let me say that again. F charter schools were taking kids. They were supposed to do it cheaper and better. That is a lie. They can show anywhere in the state where they're doing it cheaper and better. So what happens if 1,000 or 1,300 kids from Webster move over to a Webster charter school? How is the public school going to pay retirement? Do you see how that's a backhanded way of undoing our public school system? Anybody can see that. So I sat there for 8 hours in Senate Insurance just about battling for public schools. And everybody in there was wearing a yellow shirt. School choice. That's just a code word for bankrupt the public school system. So some people don't like paying property taxes. I know I sure don't. But K through 12 education is the only thing we have. It is a 13-year pipeline that moves children from poverty, where I was, to prosperity. If you're a teacher in here, if you're a principal in here, you need to be very aware of this debate. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Next we'll hear from Maddie Preston.
Well, I work in the public school system, and it's a good system, but it does have its problems. And I believe that charter schools and public schools can coexist. I know in the public school system, one of the problems I see is that a lot of the students graduate without having any set of skills to function after high school. I have substituted in classes where high school students couldn't even read. And I've seen some of them after graduation, and they don't have jobs. So So public schools do have their problems. And public schools also have a problem with the children. Working as a substitute teacher, I see what the teachers go through in the public school system, and I take my hat off to them, and they deserve the pay raise that they got. But a lot of the kids come from homes where they don't even know what discipline is. And the teacher has to spend a lot of time sometimes trying to keep the children seated instead of teaching them all. And then you have the special ed kids in the classroom that aren't keeping up, and the teacher has a curriculum she has to follow, so she can't.
Thank you, Ms. Preston.